This was, of course, federal budget week. We've been talking about this for so long. Well, the day finally came. Amanda Lang, CTV News, Chief Financial Correspondent on the story. Amanda, I was just saying to you off air, I saw you everywhere across TV yesterday trying to break this thing down. I don't know that that's an easy thing to do, given, 400 pages long? So if you could, just in terms of, sort of overall, just so people can understand what's in this as it affects them, what do you take from this budget?
Yeah, I mean, it's a budget that's trying to do a couple of things at the same time. And one, a lot of the stuff that would affect people immediately has been pre-announced. So there's tens of billions of spending that's coming our way on housing initiatives. There are tax cuts for what they say the middle class, but it's the lowest bracket that's come down. And that will make a big difference, like the automatic filing of taxes for low-income Canadians that will make a material difference to some people. So, but that was all kind of pre-announced. The stuff that wasn't pre-announced, which is the second piece of this, is more important, in my view, longer to sort of grab hold of, but could be way more interesting. And that is a kind of a set of incentives for business to invest, co-investment by government, a new way of thinking about sort of big projects and initiatives and infrastructure that, if it works, if it instills confidence in the business community, which it's aimed to do, could actually get at things like our productivity problem, business investment, which has been terrible and falling for years. Those are not things that, are going to thrill people the day after a budget. People at home won't be like, oh, yay, tax credits for business. But if you have a small business, these are material. It's like 100% depreciation in year one on some investments. That's a big deal. So I was most excited about that, but it's you can see why it might not kind of make the headline in the Globe and Mail.
Yeah, and it's been described a couple of different ways. I heard someone call it a war budget. Obviously, they've been selling it, the Liberals have, as a growth budget. I mean, the budget itself is called Grow Canada. So with respect to what it does, I think the only argument I've heard from people who would point those things out and say, well, I don't know, these things will take a long time to actually mature, to come into effect. Is that a concern?
I mean, they may or they may not. I mean, the hope is, and I guess one of the things I'm doing this week on my show is talking to people in kind of the business world who understand the taxation side of things. Some of these credits have been in place already for a year and a half. The Liberal government brought them in 2024. So our business is already taking advantage of the ones that were there. There's some evidence they were. The ones that are new go a lot further. So the hope is that you actually really kickstart a new way of thinking. I think the wartime analogy makes sense, Aaron, because we do still have this massive overhang of uncertainty from the trade deal. So to me, the big question isn't, are there incentives here for business? There are. And if they do it, it happens right away, right? You'll invest tomorrow because you want to capture this tax year. The problem is, if you're in business, you're thinking, do we have a trade deal or don't we? Should I keep cash in my bank account right now or should I invest it? The uncertainty might undermine your confidence. This budget's aimed at kind of instilling confidence and saying, look, we're going to be okay. We're going to actually lean into the Canadian economy and the place Canada has in the world, but business has to go along for the ride, and that's the wild card. So
from what you've heard, I mean, criticism, you always expect it regardless of what's in a budget, but anything that you have heard that you say, you know what, that's a fair point. Anything in this budget, I mean, there's a ton of money in here for defense. That had been promised. That's Canada's commitment that's going to be honored now. What have you heard?
So the criticism that I think actually hits the hardest is the one that, again, people won't really talk about it, but this budget didn't actually make any changes to the transfers to old people. So OAS is the one place where you could really make some changes. We send money to wealthy Canadians. So the cutoff for a couple to receive OAS is, I'm going to say it's $181,000 income. They could have tinkered with that and at the very least benefited poor old people, in other words, people who are like, more vulnerable, or even just kept some money back for young people, for education, for healthcare. So we kind of give old people a pass because they vote and they're a very powerful group, but we can't afford this. And of course, demographics say it's getting worse. That's one thing I've heard criticism of. I think it's probably true. The Bloc flagged out of the gate that they weren't going to support, they wanted to, in order to support the budget, they wanted more money for the elderly. So you could see that why it's a hot button issue. But that's one place where I think we could do more work.
There's also, of course, this issue, and it's been brought up by business, by entrepreneurs as well, that, you know what, I think you alluded to this at the beginning, we're not doing a lot of homegrown industry growing here, if you will. In other words, we're behind the ball on AI, we're behind the ball on business development, startups, et cetera. Is there something in this budget beyond those tax credits that spurs that kind of investment?
I mean, I think there is, in the sense that there's stuff that's already in play, which is the internal trade barrier reductions, removing regulatory red tape. That's a big one, right? And that, again, that one takes time. It's slow moving, but every single day that's going on right now. A kind of a review of how things happen. One of the things not long ago that the energy minister said to me is, as part of the major projects office, they're looking at the whole kind of process across different government departments and rethinking how can you streamline it, how can you make it more efficient. That will yield benefits that go beyond a single project. So that takes time. That work's underway, but I think that's the kind of stuff that actually might make this generational, if you want to buy into their language.
Also, there's part of this budget, I think, as well, right, that's trying to attract international talent, if we can call it that, to come here. That's something we hadn't seen before, had we?
No, I mean, we do it a little bit, but this is a really intelligent way to seize a moment, right? Because we'd see this issue with the U.S. It was already, there was a chill for political reasons on some types of talent, but the whole move against the H-1B visa, foreign workers in the U.S., that creates an opportunity for Canada, and it makes so much sense for us to try to capitalize. Because, once you move somebody here, the benefits of that are quite lasting. People don't move easily. When they do, they put down roots, they bring their families, right? You keep them for a while. So it makes the investment in our human capital is really smart to do right now. How it plays out, again, devil's always in the details, right? Do we do a good job of actually executing? That will be the question.
Last thing I want to bring up, which we didn't talk about, and it was sort of pointed out, I think, at the beginning as well. There's been a lot of talk about cuts. How's the government going to cut? So this has to do with money that's going to be saved in the public service. There's a lot of talk about how many jobs may actually leave. I know the government plays it down by saying maybe it'll be early retirement or attrition. What's your take on that?
Honestly, I think they're going to do more than they're saying. I think this wasn't a budget where they wanted to make that the headline. They needed the support from the NDP. And I think, yes, 10% attrition is one way to do it. What happens, of course, we just saw the numbers of the cuts at the Bank of Canada, which was a kind of a staggeringly high number. I couldn't believe that many people worked at the Bank of Canada that you could cut a couple hundred people. But those are really senior, important jobs. So we don't do it lightly. I actually think they did ask for departments to look for 15% cost reductions, right, over 3 years. So that's deep cuts. I think that's still ahead of us, and I think you'll find it just happens quietly in the background.
I don't want to ask for a political opinion here, but we know the big story, of course, is the fact that we had one Conservative member cross the floor and join the Liberals. We know they need 3 votes to pass this budget. I'm not sure when that vote is, a week away, 10 days away. Anything that you've heard suggesting that, no, it's not going to pass?
I haven't. And to be honest, most of the analysis that I've seen is that whether it's members of the NDP abstaining, that there will be a way forward for this. But, presumably that's the work that's going on in the background right now, is the government trying to make sure that it can happen. Let's agree nobody wants to go to the polls.
I think we can all agree to that. Amanda, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Always good to talk.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.